Students, how are you? I hope you are doing study well and taking precaution against the coronavirus. So students, in the previous sessions we have learnt, not we have just learnt, we have performed two practicals. So students, you have to write those two practicals in your practical handbook, that is practical activity book, not other. Some of the students write the practical number 1 which is given in your activity book, that is to prepare the ethanol. So students, please don't do this or don't do write this, please students, because we only do two practicals, so you have to write those two practicals only which we have done in the practical lab. Okay students, so this is all about the practical. Now students, let me tell you that in the lesson number 1 we have seen till now most of the important topics. Now there are certain topics which are remain from this lesson for revision. So in today's session we are going to revise these rest of the topics. Okay students, so before going to forwarding that topics, first I want to tell you that what we have learned in the previous session. Okay, so we have learned in the previous session that what do you mean by the manuring, what is manuring, and the chemical fertilizers. What is the difference between manuring and chemical fertilizers? What are the natural methods of regaining lost nutrients from the soil? So students, there are mostly three natural methods for regaining the nutrients. So students, there are three natural methods for regaining the nutrients from the soil. Which are those? Yes, I think you also know that. Which are those students? Yes, field fallowing, crop rotation, and multiple cropping. Okay students, so some of the students have write I think I have asked this question in the worksheet also. Name the natural methods of regaining lost nutrients from the soil. But there some of the students write not only the name but explain also. So students, you have to just write the name, because the question is that name the natural methods of regaining lost nutrients from the soil. So you have to just write the name of that natural methods, that is field fallowing, crop rotation, and the multiple cropping. So please students, first see what is the question over there and afterwards write your answers. So for that questions, there is no need to explanation about these natural methods. You have to just write that the names of these three natural methods. Okay, okay students. Now also we have learned in the previous session that about the irrigation and its types. So students, what do you mean by the irrigation and its types? This we have seen. What are the two types of irrigation? That means sprinkle irrigation and which drip irrigation. Okay, so students, there are two types of irrigation which are related to the watering to the crops. Okay, so students, in this session we are going to revise the rest of the topic. Okay, so here we are revise harvesting, threshing, and winnowing. What are these three methods? What do you mean by the harvesting? What do you mean by the threshing? What do you mean by the winnowing? And what is the basic difference between these three terms? Okay student, so this we are going to revise in today's session. Okay, so let us start from the harvesting method. So students, see over here the definition of harvesting. So students, each and every student have the textbook with them, okay, also with this video. See the definition. The process of cutting and gathering of crops from the fields after the crops have matured is called harvesting. Again students, what is mean by harvesting? The process of cutting and gathering of crops from the field after the crops have matured is called harvesting of crop. See students, what do you mean by the harvesting? Harvesting, it is the process which involves the cutting and gathering of crops. Whenever we sow any kind of seed, so that seed should be sown and after that it germinate to a crop. Okay students, so after the maturation of that crop, what is the step? After maturation of crop, the crop should be cut. The crop should be cut, and after cutting that crop, we have to gather that crop. So students, the process of cutting and gathering of this crop from the field after the maturation of that crop is known as harvesting. Okay students, got it? Again I repeat. See students, the process of cutting and gathering of crop from the field after the maturation of crop is known as harvesting. So students, the cutting of plants and gathering of these crops, this will happen by doing certain different methods. So for harvesting also there are certain different methods. So what are those methods? See over here. This is the first method, that is the manual harvesting. So harvesting is also done with the help of manually. Manually means by using our hands. That means some of the farmers use sickles to harvest their crops, especially wheat, maize, paddy. So whenever there is the field of wheat, maize, paddy, after the maturation of this crop, farmers harvest this crop. Farmers cut this crop with the help of sickle. With the help of sickles, by using this instrument, they harvest these crops. There are certain fruits and vegetables, they are plucked manually by the farmers. Means they are plucked with the help of hand. They are uprooted. Okay students. So fruits and vegetables are plucked manually by the farmers. See, this is manual harvesting. Suppose this is our crop, and after maturation of crop, we can easily cut this crop. Okay students, by manually we can easily cut this crop by using the sickles or by our hand. Okay students, so the tractor driver machines called harvesters. There are also certain tractor driver machines. Means there are certain machines which are joined to the tractor, and with that tractor these machines are also driven and harvest these crops. These are known as harvester. These are also used for harvesting wheat and paddy like of crops. Now the next method is threshing and winnowing. So students, whenever there is harvesting process occurs, after the harvesting processing, the process which is occur is known as threshing. So what exactly a threshing? See students, once the crop is harvested, see over here in your textbook also, once the crop is harvested, the grains are separated from the stalks by a process called threshing. Again students, once the crop is harvested, the grains are separated from the stalks by a process called threshing. So threshing, it is the process students. Suppose we have harvested some of the crops from the field. Okay, harvest means we just cut after maturation of that crop. Our crop is ready. Okay students, so we cut that crop, and after cutting we collect that crop. After cutting we collect that crop. So after the cutting and collecting this crop, what we have to do? We get the grains from that crop. So that grain should be separated from their stalk by the process known as threshing. So the separation of grain once the crop is harvested, that process is known as threshing. That process is known as threshing. Okay, students. So here you have to underline these two lines. Once the crop harvested, the grains are separated from the stalk by the process called threshing. Okay, so this is the definition. So students, the crops are spread on the ground and generally certain animals like camels, oxen and buffaloes are used to trample over them. So students, generally what happens, how this threshing process occurs, some of the times these crops are spread on the ground, and through that crops or on that crops, the animals like cows, buffaloes or any camels, oxen, these are trample over them. These are trample over them so that the grains which is present in that chaff or the husk, they get separated. They get separated. So this is the basic method or older method. But this method is not applicable for the large farm, because if we have the large area with the crops, so at that time, at every time, we cannot use the animals. At each and every time, we cannot use the animals for separation of grains from the chaff. So students, here in case of large farms, certain machines are used for the threshing process. That machine is known as thresher. That machine is known as thresher, which is used for separating the grains. Okay students, if we have the small farm or small area, at that time we can use animals to trample over them and then we can get the separated grains. But it is not as feasible as by using the machines. So in case of large farms, we use the machines. That machine is known as thresher for separating the grains from the chaff or the husk. Okay students, so it has big rollers. So what is that machine thresher? Thresher has a big roller under which these crops are passed so that we get the grains separated from that crops. So instead of animals, we just used over here a machine which has big roller and under which these crops are passed so that we get the separation of grains. Okay students, but sometimes this method, harvesting as well as threshing, these are done simultaneously. Suppose here I have harvested some crops. Okay, I cut that crops, gather that crops. Now instantly after harvesting, I proceed to the threshing process. So sometimes these two processes are occur simultaneously by using a motorized machine. By using the motorized machine known as combine. Known as combine. So combine machine is used for the simultaneous harvesting and threshing. Okay, so for both the process, combine is used whenever they are in simultaneous. So however, see students here, in case of wheat, this combine machine is not used. Suppose we have the wheat crop, so at that time we cannot use this combine machine for the harvesting of wheat and for the threshing of wheat. Why we cannot use? Because it produces very less amount of fodder than that of amount produced by the amount produced by the other methods. Okay students, so whenever we use the combine machine for harvesting and threshing of wheat crop, it really gives us a less fodder. So it is not feasible or preferable for the crop only wheat. Okay students, so combine machine is used for, you have to just remember over here, the combine machine is used for harvesting and threshing simultaneously. Now this is about the harvesting and threshing. So students, Whenever we separate grains from the crops, at that time there are certain grains which are also present in that crop, which are not completely removed from that crop by the threshing method. By using the thresher or by the threshing method, there are also certain crops which are not really separated from that crops. So here comes a question that, so how to separate these grains which are not removed by, which are not separate by the threshing method? So here we have to remove that grains with the help of another process. That process is known as winnowing. That process is known as winnowing. So the grains separated by threshing are further, see over here, the grains separated by threshing are further separated from the chaff by winnowing. This can be done with the help of wind. So students, winnowing, it is the process by which the grains are separated by threshing are further separated from the chaff by winnowing, and for the purpose of winnowing process there is use of wind. Okay students, so winnowing process can be done with the help of wind. So how it is done students? See students, if we have the crops which is threshing, so after threshing we take that crops and that crop should be tossed just like this. That crop should be tossed or dropped on the ground from a very much height, so that the chaff which is present in that crop, it is really lighter, so it is blown away with that wind, and the grains which are heavy, they are fall down towards the ground due to the earth gravity, due to the gravity. Okay students, so in this way the grains which are also present in the chaff, they get separated by using the process winnowing with the help of wind, with the help of wind. Okay students, so after getting these grains there remains the stalk. Okay, after we getting the grains there remains a stalk of that crop. See students, just like here, this is the threshing method, and after threshing this is the winnowing method. I have one picture also for the winnowing method. Just I will tell you that. See. Sorry. What is the exactly difference between the threshing and winnowing? Okay students. See students, after threshing we get the grains separated. Okay. But after threshing we also does not gain certain grains, so these are separated by the winnowing method. See student, that lady do the winnowing process so that the chaff which is present in that crop, which is really light in weight, that get blown away with the wind, and the grains which are heavy, they are fall down onto the ground. See over there. Okay students, so this is the process of threshing and winnowing. Okay, sorry. So students, the stems which are remain from separating the grains, these stems of crops are also useful for the farmers. Why they are useful? Because whenever these stems of the crops, the stems of the crops are cut into the small pieces and fed to the cattle along with chaff, this food for the cattle is known as fodder. So that stem of the crop It's cut into the pieces and it acts as a fodder. It acts as a food for the animals which are work in the field. Okay, students. So this is all about the basic difference between the harvesting, threshing and winnowing. This is the basic difference between the harvesting, threshing and winnowing. So students, after harvesting, threshing, winnowing, we get the grains, we get the crop which is healthy one. Okay students, we get the crop which is healthy one. So why we get that crop in more yield, or why we get that crop which is healthy one? Why healthy crop we get, students? Because for for the growing stage of any crop, or for the while growing of any crop, the farmers should take certain precautions. Farmers should take certain precautions so that the crops should be protected in the field from the other insects, pests or any weeds. So here it is, the next topic is protection of crops in the field. Here it is, the next topic is protection of crops in the field. So students, as crops grow in the field, they have to be protected in such a way that they produced a healthy yield. So how we can protect the crop? What are the methods by which we can protect the crops, and what are the factors which really affects or damage our crops? So this we are going to revise over here. So students, the one term is over here, that is weed. So I would like to tell you that what is weed. See students, weeds are the unwanted crop plants. Unwanted plants which are known as weeds, or the undesirable unwanted plants are known as weeds. So these weeds, I think you have also seen to the aside of any streets. See students, in the asides of any streets or the road, you also seen certain plants which are grown over there. There we cannot see, we cannot sow the seeds, and also we cannot water over there, but they can grow themselves. So what are these weeds? These weeds are along with the crops which have to be removed. So these, whenever we saw our main crop in the field, at that time with our main crop, suppose we saw our wheat crop, so these weeds can grow with that wheat crop. With that wheat crop, so we have to cut that weeds. We have to remove that weeds with from that wheat crop. Why? Because we have to save our main crop, that is the wheat crop. So there are certain other factors also which affect the growth of our main crop or the wheat crop. So what are these? That means there are certain pests, especially insects, which are also gives harm to our crop, or they can also give diseases to our crop. So we have to also protect our crop from these all kinds of factors. So students, there are variety of weeds. There are variety of weeds. For example, see over here the Parthenium. Parthenium, it is the example of weed which is also known as carrot or Congress grass. Amaranthus, Chenopodium, grass and wild oat. So these are the certain examples of weeds. So there are different types of weeds which are grow with the different types of crops. So students, what happens whenever these weeds are grow with our main crop in the field? In our field, whenever these weeds are grow with our main crop, what will happen? What will happen, students? Think scientifically. What will happen? So students, there. So students, these weeds can compete with our main crop. Means they can take competition. Okay. So they can take participation in the competition with our main crop. Why they can compete with our main crop? Because they can also take sunshine, water and some space in the field, which is we have already given to our main crop. So they can compete with these requirement for their growth. So if they compete with the main crop for the sunlight, for the water, for the nutrients and the minerals which are given to our main crop, so that our main crop doesn't get that nutrients, minerals, water in plenty of amount. So there the growth of our crop gets stunted. Okay students, so for that purpose we have to remove this crop from the field. Okay students, we have to remove this crop because these are the undesirable and unwanted, which are not really desirable for us. So we have to just remove that from the crops so that our crops should be protected. Okay students, so here is, see, these undesirable plants compete with the main crop for sunshine, water and space in the field. So these weeds must be removed as the use of the nutrients in the soil and thereby make them unavailable for the crop. Okay, so our main crop doesn't get that nutrients as these nutrients are utilized by these weeds. So students, the process of removing weeds from a field is called weeding. It's called weeding. So you have to just underline over here because it is the definition of weeding. So students, again, the process of removing of weeds or the process of removing weeds from a field is called weeding. So whenever we remove that weeds, that process is known as weeding. Farmers adopt many ways to remove the weeds. So there are also certain methods by which these weeds can be removed, okay, and control their growth. So what are these methods? Let us see. Removal of weeds. The first method is manual removal. See students, manual word itself indicate that without using any artificial or without using any machines. So manual removal means with the help of our hand we have to just pluck out the weeds from the field. See, just like this. With the help of hand, just pluck out these weeds. Okay. So manual removal includes, see students, the weeds can be removed manually by pulling or cutting them close to the ground. By pulling them or cutting them just like this fashion by close to the ground from time to time. Okay, so they grow in many they grow and cover the many area. So we have to cut them from the root side or from the ground side time to time, and this is done with the help of trowel or a harrow. So students, there are also certain instrument for the removal of these weeds. The instrument known as trowel, that is the khurpi or a harrow. These instruments are those by which we can do the removal or we can remove these weeds. So weeding should be done carefully as it may damage the crops, plants or even uproot them. See students, even whenever we uprooted that weeds at the time, there is also chances of uh, uprooting of our main crop also. So we have to really take care of that. The main crop should not be removed with the weeds. Okay students, so we have to take these precautions. So the removed weeds get decomposed and mixed with the soil. Remove weeds get decomposed and mixed with the soil. So students, this weeding process is also done before the sowing and transplanting seedlings, because these weeds can also these weeds can also do some problems to our main crop. Why? How this is so? See students, weeds are removed by the hand or with the help of plug or harrow. But if some of these weeds starts growing again during the growth of our main crop, so they must be removed. They must be removed. So how they should be removed? So there are certain methods rather than manual removal by which we can remove these weeds. So the second method for removing the weeds is use of natural herbicides or the bioherbicides. Use of natural herbicides or the bioherbicides. So students, what is natural herbicides or the herbicides? So see over here, it is the definition, you have to underline it. A chemical substance that destroys the weeds is known as herbicide. So herbicides, these are the chemical substance which can destroy the weeds. So, and nowadays certain herbicides based on natural biological agents are also used. These are known as natural herbicides or bioherbicides. See students, here side, CIDE, side means to kill. Okay students, so we have to naturally kill that weeds or by using certain biological agents, that is known as bioherbicides. So these are being used today now for the purpose of removal of these weeds. So these are the chemical substance or any substances, they are not harmful to the organisms or human beings also. So these are get from the specific plants. They are get from the specific plants. That's why they are known as natural herbicides. Okay student, so these are not harmful. We have to just spray these herbicides. We have to just spray these herbicides and the bioherbicides on our whole field, so that the weeds where is grown, that weed should be removed. Okay students, so this is all about the methods of removing of weeds. Now, the next one is the control of plant diseases and pests. Just like weeds, there are also certain factors which affect the growth of our main crop. The main factor is the pest and certain microorganisms. Pests and diseases, these two are the main factors which damage our plants. So, plant diseases are usually caused by certain microorganisms. Diseases are caused by certain microorganisms known as fungi, bacteria and viruses. So, due to these microorganisms, that plant get diseased, and due to that diseased plant, we doesn't get the healthy yield. Okay students, so these diseases are these diseases should be removed. How they are removed? Before going to see over here, first how these diseases are transmitted. See students, these diseases are transferred from one plant to another plant to another plant and to whole the field. How this is? So there are three ways for transmitting these diseases. The first way is the seed itself. If seed is diseased, if seed is not disease free, means if seed have any kind of disease by the microorganism in the soil, so the plant which we get is also the diseased plant. Okay students, after harvesting the plant which we get, it is also the diseased plant because its seed is only a diseased. Now the next is the airborne. There are certain spores of the fungi which are present in the air, so they also causes the disease to the plants. And the third one is the soil borne. So soil borne means there are certain microorganisms which are present in the soil, so they cause diseases to that plants. They cause diseases to that plants. So these are the three factors by which the disease can be transferred from one plant to the other plants. Okay students, so here are certain examples of the fungal diseases which occurs in the plant. So there are certain names of that diseases. See students, the first one is the rust of wheat. The first one is the rust of wheat and the second one is the blast of rice. Means the disease which occur to the wheat plant, that disease or the disease which is occur by the fungi to the wheat plant, that disease is known as rust of wheat. There are variety of diseases students. There are variety of diseases because there are variety of fungi itself. So according to the variety of that fungi, the diseases are differ. So it is the just one name of the disease which is caused by the fungi to the wheat, that is known as rust of wheat, and the next one is the blast of rice. So it is the disease which causes disease to the rice crop. Okay, so it is the name of disease blast of rice. So these all two diseases are caused by the fungus, which these two diseases are caused by the fungus. So that's why these are the two common fungal diseases which occur in the crops, wheat crop and the rice crop. Okay students, so this is all about the disease. So we have to protect our crop from such kind of diseases, from the diseases and from the pest or from the certain microorganisms. How we can control the plant from getting disease by the microorganisms? So there is a solution students. We should spray certain fungicides or the pesticides. Pesticides, I have already told you that sides means to kill and pesty means to kill the pests. Okay, so pests are also certain agents which destroy our plant. So have you ever seen there are certain leaf of the plant which are cutted by certain insects? There are certain leaf of the plant which are really yellow in color, which are yellowish brownish in color. Certain growth is present over there. So these all are infected by the pest or certain disease occur. White color dotted are there in the leaf. So not only the leaf, only the whole parts of the plants get affected such kind of diseases. So this we have to control or we have to protect our crop for such kind of diseases by using certain fungicides or pesticides. We have to spread these fungicides and pesticides, so that we have to spread that fungicides and pesticides in such a way that the fungal disease or any pest cannot attack to our crop. They should not attack to our main crop. See students, this is the spraying of weedicides over here. How the spraying is done? See over here. This picture shows the spraying of weedicides, so that these weeds are also, weedicides means these are also the certain chemical substances solutions, so that these weeds cannot grow to our main crops. Okay students, so this is the method to control our plant from the diseases, pests and weeds. I hope you all got this topic. Okay, students. Now we will forward to the next topic. So students, now we are going to learn the next topic, that is the preservation of agriculture products. So after the harvesting of crop, the next process for the proceed is to preserve the agriculture product. Okay students, whenever we get the grains, we have to preserve that grains. Okay, we have to preserve that grains in such a way that they cannot get any kind of harm or they cannot get damage. So how we can preserve this agriculture product? See students, we get this agriculture product in very vast amount, in very large amount. So we have to preserve this large amount of product for the many days, So how we can preserve this? Okay students, how we can preserve this? So see over here students, I first tell me that students, you also know that in your home the wheat which is the wheat which is packed in any gunny bags, what your mom will do to that grains? I think the grain which is stored in your home also, it is for the 1 year or for the rest of the year. So for whole 1 year we have to preserve these grains. So what are the methods for preservation of these agriculture products and what are the storage methods? How we can store so that we get that agriculture product or the grains as it is to next 3 to 4 months or next 6 to 7 months. So students, here, see over here, once harvested, food grains have to be safely stored. So after harvesting, the next process is to preserve the grains. So they have to be safe from being attacked and interrupted by the rodents. So there are certain rodents, birds, insects, they can also damage our main agriculture products. So we have to protect them from the rodents, birds or insects. Okay. Also they have to protected from spoilage due to the improper temperature, because certain grains require the moderate temperature, proper temperature, certain moisture. If there is more moisture present in the room or near to that grains, so that there is possibility of growing of certain fungi over there. There is possibility of growth of certain fungi over there. So there some of the methods are there which can prevent this loss and spoilage of agricultural produce. Okay students, so we know that the agricultural products are get damaged by certain agents like rodents. There are certain mouse, we can also they can also spoil our grains. Certain insects, they can also spoil our grains. So we have to prevent our main agricultural product. So here are the certain methods by which we can preserve the certain agricultural product. How this is so? See over here students. The first method is drying. So the grains are dried in the sun or by blowing hot air on them. You have also seen at your home whenever your mother dry these grains. Why these grains should be dry? Because due to the presence of more heat, due to the presence of hot air, the microorganisms which are on the grains, they should be get damaged. They get damaged. For that purpose, we have to dry these grains. The next one is maintaining storage containers. See students, the gunny bags or the tanks or certain other earthen pots are used for the storage. For storage purpose, what we have to do? We have to take certain gunny bags, because that gunny bags provides the certain holes. From that holes, see students over here, from that holes, see in this picture, that grain will get the air, okay, and the proper temperature and moisture. For that purpose, we have to use the gunny bags or the tanks or certain earthen pots for the storage of any kind of grains. The next method is chemical treatment. Spraying or the fumigation. Fumigation means fumes. There are certain fumes, means this is insecticide solution which is converted into the fumes. So we have to spraying or fumigate our godowns. You have also hear this word fumigation, because it is the period of COVID-19. So the area, certain area are also fumigated. Okay students. So just like this, the spraying or fumigation, so these fumigation of godowns occurs. If we fumigate or spray certain insecticides into the godowns, so that the insects which are present in that room, they get killed, and if they get killed, so there is no possibility to get damage of our crop. Okay students. So fungicides and insecticides should be sprayed to the godowns and containers, okay, before storage of grains. The next method is use of improved storage structure. So students, we have to use the improved storage structure, means we have a storeroom, okay, but we have to improve that. How in how ways we have to improve that? We have to improve that structure by doing it is airtight, means no more air is for that, rat proof, no rats are come over there, moisture proof, and can maintain a steady temperature are now used for the storage. We have to also maintain certain steady temperature, okay. So and these are also rat proof, that means any kind of rat cannot enter into that room, and the moisture also present in the moderate. So these are the certain methods by which we can improve or we can control our, or we can preserve the main agriculture product. So students, what is green revolution? There is general improvement in the crop yield and the food production occur in the country between 1960 and 1980. So crop yield and the food production which was occurred in the old days, that will be improved, in our that was improved in our country in between 1960 and 1980. Why it is improved students? Because it was the turning point of Indian agriculture, which is known as, or which is referred to as green revolution, So students, which is referred to as green revolution, we have become self-sufficient in food. Means after the green revolution, we have get the confidence, or we have become self-sufficient for getting the improved quality of food, for getting the surplus crop to the stock, and in emergency situations like the aftermath of natural calamities like drought or certain famines, we can also overcome these calamities, okay students, because there occurs the introduction of green revolution. Okay, so the agricultural scientist Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, M.S. Swaminathan, He is the recipient of World Food Prize for his outstanding effort to rid the world of poverty. Means he goes to credit for the Green Revolution. Okay, means this scientist, agricultural scientist, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, has introduced certain improved techniques so that our agricultural product gives more yield. We get the high yielding food crops. So these high yielding food crops are introduced in our India by Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. Okay, students. So this is all about the preservation and storage of crops. Now, the next term is animal husbandry. The next term is animal husbandry. So, what do you mean by the animal husbandry? See students over here. Students, we have already seen that, or in the 7th standard, you have already seen that the plants can prepare their own food. So, with the help of plants, we get the food. But with the help of animals, we also get the food. So, students, you have learned about the different ways of crop production in the form of grains, but in the form of grains, vegetables, and fruit. But as the crops are useful as similar in the same manner, there are also certain several animals which are useful to us and which provide us a food. So the foods from the animals provide certain proteins. The foods which we get from the animals possesses certain proteins which are not get by the plants. Okay students, the food which we get or the proteins, minerals which we get from certain animals, that proteins or animals cannot provide by the plant sources. That's why we also use animals, or we can take the foods of animals. So students, man has been, see over here, man has been rearing animals since ancient times. So since ancient times, man has been rearing the animals. This all of you know that. So students, rearing of animals for specific purpose is known as domestication. Just like nowadays, there are certain dogs which are domesticated at certain people's home. Certain cats are there. Cows are in the farmers' cows, or the oxes are in the farmers' home. So there are the certain animals which are reared for the specific purpose. This is known as domestication. So you have to underline here, students, you have to underline this line. The rearing of animals for a specific purpose is known as domestication. Most domesticated animals have the multiple uses. Means one animal gives many uses. For example, animals kept primarily for work are also used for. So there are certain animals which are used for the work. That means cows, buffaloes, they are used in the farm, but they are also used for the supply of milk, meat, clothing materials. So there are certain animals which gives multiple uses. Means they can work also, they can help in our work also, and also used for the supply of certain. So that means we get the milk, meat, or certain clothing materials from these animals. Okay, so all the animals that provide, see students, all the animals that provide food products are reared or domesticated either at home or in farms. So the animals which provide us food products and these are reared and domesticated at your home or in the farms. So students, the rearing of animals on large scale is known as animal husbandry. the rearing of animals on large scale is known as animal husbandry. So what do you mean by the animal husbandry? See students, here it is the basic difference between the domestication and the animal husbandry. So domestication means the rearing of animals for a specific purpose. Whenever we rear the animals for specific purpose, that term is known as the domestication, while the rearing of animals on large scale means on large scale whenever we rear the animals, animals are reared large scales, at that time we can say that it is the animal husbandry. For not any domestication purpose, we rear on large scale. So there are certain examples which can provide us with food. Examples of animals. See, the first example is milch animals. The first example is milch animals. So what are these milch animals? See students, here the name itself indicates that what do you mean by the milch? Milch means the milk. So the animals that provide us milk, a rich source of proteins, vitamins, minerals, are called milch animals. Again I repeat, the animals which can provide us milk, a rich source of proteins, vitamins and minerals, are called milch animals. For example, cow, buffalo, goat, sheep, these are all the examples of milch animals, because from these animals we get the milk, and milk, it is the rich source of proteins, vitamins and minerals. So indirectly we get certain proteins, vitamins and minerals from these kind of milch animals. Okay, so where these milch animals are reared? These milch animals are reared on large scale in the dairy farms. In dairy farms, these animals are reared on large scale, and from rearing of that animals, we get the milk, milk which is the rich source of protein. Okay students, so this is all about the milch animals. See, here are the certain pictures of animal husbandry. Means here these animals are reared. Okay students, now the next is, what is pisciculture and apiculture, or what is difference between them? See students, there are certain birds. There are certain birds which are also domesticated. These are also domesticated for the purpose of getting food. For getting food, we also domesticate certain poultry birds. So for example, chickens, turkeys, ducks, geese and some minor species such as squab and ostrich. Okay, so these are the poultry birds which are domesticated for the food purpose. So the rearing of this bird is referred to as poultry. Whenever we rear such kind of birds, that is referred to as poultry. So birds that are especially reared for meat are called broilers. There are also certain birds which are reared for the meat. For purpose of meat, they are called as broilers. Okay students, what are the poultry birds? These are domesticated for purpose of getting the food. The examples for that are chickens, turkey, ducks or the geese. So these are the birds which are rearing of that birds referred to as poultry. The next term is the fishes. All students like fishes? Yes students? See students, it is the major source of food in our country. Why? Why it is the major source of food in our country? Because fish is a rich source of animal protein. Fish is a rich source of animal protein, means the protein which we get from the fish, it is rich in amount. That is, the fish proteins are highly digestible and growth promoting. So these are the main important things which we get from the fish. That's why fish are involved in the food in our country. So there are certain fish, that is cod and the shark fish, from which we can also get the liver oil, and these are rich source of vitamin D. So from these two type of fishes, we also get the vitamin D. Okay, students. So the breeding, rearing and transplantation of fish by artificial means is called pisciculture. You have to underline over here, students. This is the definition of pisciculture. Pisces means the fishes, okay, and culture means to cultivate. So the breeding, rearing and transplantation of fish by artificial means. See students, here for getting the food from the fish, we artificially breed these fish, rear these fish and transplant. So these all three processes are done with the help of artificially, not naturally. So whenever these three processes are done by the artificial means, that process is known as the pisciculture. Okay, Pisces means the fish and culture means to cultivate or the fish farming. So students, it involves how the pisciculture occurs. It involves the rearing of fish commercially in tanks. Certain tanks are used for rearing the fish or enclosures for usually the foods. Now the next one is the honeybee. See students, these are the examples of certain fishes which are reared. Now the next one is the honeybee. What are these honeybee? See students, all of you know that we get the honey from the honeybees. Okay. What are these honeybees? Honeybees are the small insect from which we get the nutritious substance which is called as honey. So, which is obtained from these honeybees. So students, this honey, why we require this honey from the honeybees? Because that honey contains water, mineral, sugar and certain enzymes. That honey contains certain water, sugar, minerals and enzymes which are really important in the honey, because due to presence of this content in the honey, that honey becomes easily digestible and even used in medicines also. What is the application of honey? So it is digestible and even used in the medicine. That's why we reared the honeybees on large scale. So whenever these honeybees are reared on large scale, that is referred as apiculture. That is referred as apiculture. Again students, I repeat, the rearing of honeybees on a large scale is called as apiculture. So student, beekeeping is one of the oldest form of animal husbandry. In the old days, it is really in large amount of done animal husbandry, that is the beekeeping. Okay students, this is about the pisciculture and apiculture. So here it is the summary, that is here are the certain definitions which we have seen in whole chapters. That means we have seen in the whole chapter agriculture. It is the branch of science which deals with the method of food production. Animal husbandry, just we have learned over here, that is rearing of certain animals on large scale. What is apiculture? Api means honeybees. So the rearing of honeybees on large scale, which is known as apiculture. What do you mean by the crop? Any plant which is grown on large scale at particular place for food, clothing or any other use, that is known as crops. And what are the fertilizers? The man-made chemical substance which is rich in some particular inorganic nutrients. This we have also seen in our first session of this revision. So these are the terms: harvesting, irrigation, manure. So these are the processes which are covered in these chapters. Pests are the organisms which causes damage to the crop and make them unfit for the human consumption. So we cannot consume that crop because it is damaged by the pest. Okay. Pisciculture, that is rearing of fish on large scale, just we have seen over here. Threshing, it is the separation of grain from the harvested crop. Tilling, it is the process of loosening and turning of soil. And the last one is winnowing, the separation of grain from its chaff or the husk after threshing with the help of wind. Okay students, so this is all about the first lesson, that is crop production and management. Okay, so in this way this first chapter is also revised. So students, from the next session we are going to dictating, means I am dictating you the notes for this chapter. So you have to be ready on that session with your notebook. Okay students, I will just give you certain answers for the fill in the blanks, match the pairs, name the following, whatever maybe it is. You have to tick mark that answers on your textbook, and the rest of the questions which are very short answer questions, short questions, and the long answer questions, that I will only dictate you and you have to write over there. Okay students, and then I will provide you the notes, and you have to give the scan copy for your writing work also. So before writing in the next session, you just read what we have learned in this chapter, what are the terms which are we going through these chapters. Okay students, I hope you all get these all the topics. I know that I take more time for this revision, but this chapter is too lengthy, and there are certain important terms which you should also know. That's why we take this revision for the more time. But students, I hope you all get this all the topics. Okay, thank you students. If any student have queries regarding these topics, please feel free to ask me. You can send me the mail. This is my mail ID. You can also send mail to this mail ID also, or you can also ask the question to the comment also, comment session. So students, thank you.